Hi, in this video I'd like to help you prepare for the math portion of your SAT test by showing you how I would take the test. So in this video I'll be going through the second portion, that is the calculator portion, of the official SAT practice test number 1 offered by College Board. I believe there are 8 official practice tests available on their website for anyone to take. Um, so as I said in the first portion, the non-calculator portion, I think the biggest challenge is going to be the time limit more so than the actual difficulty of the test. In this section, we're going to have 55 minutes to answer 38 questions, so that gives us a little bit more time per question than in the non-calculator portion, but nevertheless, it's still going to be a pretty fast pace. So my goal here is to show you how I would answer these questions as efficiently as possible, while also trying to be accurate. As I said in the previous video, I haven't taken this test yet, so I don't promise to be perfect, but I'm going to do my best to be both as accurate and efficient as I can in answering all of these questions. So that being said, let me start my timer and we can begin. All right, timer started. Good. So let's look at our first question. John runs at different speeds as part of his training program. The graph shows his target heart rate at different times during his workout. On which interval is the target heart rate strictly increasing and then strictly decreasing? So strictly increasing and then decreasing is going to look something like this: an increase followed directly by a decrease. That doesn't occur here, that does occur here, and that does not appear to occur anywhere else. So that's between 40 and 60, looks like about 61 minutes. So 40, okay, so it occurs between 40 and 60. Good. All right, let's look at question 2. Y equals k times x, where k is a constant, and y equals 24 when x equals 6. What is the value of y when x equals 5? Um, all right, so let's first solve for what k is. So we can say 24 equals k times 6. Dividing both sides by 6, we get 4 is equal to k. So now we can substitute in for the case that x equals 5. So we can say y equals, remember substituting in for k, so k is equal to 4, so y is equal to 4 times 5. In other words, y is equal to 20. So answer C. All right, question 3. So something geometric here. So in the figure above, the lines L and M are parallel, and S and T are parallel. Okay, if the measure of angle 1 is 35 degrees, what is the measure of angle 2? So we want to know the measure of this angle, and that's going to be the same measure as this angle here. So if we know angle 1 is equal to 35 degrees, we can say, since this is a straight line, we can say 180 minus 35 is going to be equal to 140, 145. So this angle here is 145, which is going to be congruent to this angle. So angle 2 is going to be 145 degrees. Good. All right, let's take a look at question 4. So if 16 plus 4x is 10 more than 14, what is the value of 8x? Okay, so this is just a somewhat tricky way of saying 16 plus 4x is equal to 10 plus 14 is equal to 24. So we're going to solve for x, subtract 16 from both sides. That gives us 4x is equal to 8. So we can say x is equal to 2. Okay, and what is the value of 8x? So 8 times 2 equals 16. So answer C, 16. All right, which of the following graphs best shows a strong negative association between D and T? All right, so D on one axis, T on the other. So A does appear to be a negative association, but it doesn't appear to be a strong association, I would say. B appears to be not necessarily negative or positive. T is a strong positive association, and D is a strong negative association. So it's going to be answer D. All right, 1 decagram is equal to 10 grams. 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. So I'm going to say a hospital stores a hospital stores one type of medicine in 2 decagram containers. Based on the information given in the box above, how many 1 milligram doses are there in one 2 decagram container? All right, so I'm just going to write this down. So I'm going to use D for decagram. 1D is equal to 10, 10G. Okay, G for grams, and I'm going to say, let's see, 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram, so 1,000 M is equal to 1 G. All right, so now we want to compare, and 1 gram, as we can see here, 1 gram is 10 times as large as a decagram. Excuse me. 1 gram is 1/10 the size of a decagram. So in other words, 1 gram is equal to 1 over 10 times D. So if I want to know how many milligrams are in 1 decagram, I can multiply everything by 10. So we can say, in other words, 10,000 milligrams is equal to 10 grams is equal to 1 decagram. But our question is, how many 1 milligram doses are there in one 2 decagram container? So we need to multiply everything by 2. 10,000 times 2 gives us 20,000 milligrams is equal to 2 decagrams. So answer D. All right, moving along. Question 7. So we have a graph. So rooftop solar panel installations in 5 cities. Okay. The number of rooftops with solar panel installations in 5 cities is shown in the graph above. The total number of installations is 27,500. What is an appropriate label for the vertical axes of the graph? So I'm guessing everything here should add up to 27.5. So we have 9, 5, 6, 4, and looks like 3.5. So adding this up, 9 plus 5 is 14, 14 plus 6 is 20, 20 plus 20, 20 plus 4 is 24, 24 plus 3.5 is 27.5. All right, so yeah, so all these numbers do add up to 27.5, and we have 27,500. So um, what is an appropriate label? We have tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. It's going to be thousands. 27.5 times 1,000 is equal to 27,500. Okay, answer 8. Question 8, sorry. For what value of n is n absolute value of n minus 1 plus 1 equal to 0? All right, so we always need to be a little bit careful when dealing with absolute value problems. So let's just set this up. We can say m minus 1, absolute value of m minus 1 that is, plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides, so we're left with m minus 1 is equal, absolute value of m minus 1 is equal to minus 1. So this is going to be problematic here. So we can see the absolute value of any positive or negative number is always going to be positive. Absolute value of 0, 0, but otherwise absolute value is always positive. So there's no way that the absolute value of anything here can ever be equal to a negative number on this side. So in other words, we're going to have to say answer D. There is no such value of n, because absolute value must be positive. All right, questions 9 and 10 refer to the following information. So we have an equation, A equals 1052 plus 1.08t. Okay, so the speed of a sound wave in air depends on the air temperature. The formula above shows the relationship between A, the speed of a sound wave, so A is the speed in feet per second, and T is the air temperature. So T is temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. So which of the following expresses the air temperature in terms of a sound wave? So above we have the speed in terms of the air temperature. Now we want to isolate our variable T. The way we can do that is the way we can isolate our variable T is by first subtracting 1052 from both sides of the equation. So I didn't write the equation out because I'm trying to save a little bit of time, but we can say A minus 1052 is equal to 1.08t. I hope that's clear. And then as our next step, I'm just going to subtract 1.08 from both sides. So A minus 1052 over 1.08 is equal to t. Okay, so hopefully that's one of our answers. And it is. T is equal to 1052 minus 1.08. All right, so question 10. At which of the following air temperatures will the speed of a sound wave be closest to 1,000 feet per second? Let me just make sure I have our formula correct. A equals 1052, okay, plus 1.08t. A equals 1052 plus 1.08t, I believe it was. Yes, good. So, will the speed of a sound wave be closest to 1,000 feet per second? Okay, so let's substitute 1,000 in for A. A equals 1,000. 1,000 rather is equal to 1,052 plus 1.08t. So subtracting 52 from both sides, that's going to give negative 52 is equal to 1.08t. Good, and all of our answers are negative, so it's looking like we're on the right track. So this looks like it'll be the first question we use our calculator for. So we can divide both sides by 1.08. 52 divided by 0.08 is going to be equal to 48.18, negative 48.18 that is. So negative 48.18 is equal to t. So that's going to be closest to answer B, negative 48 degrees. All right, and as you can see, we're 10 questions in, and that was the first question we needed the calculator for. I think if you're using the calculator too much on this test, you might be headed down the wrong path, and I think it can be a bit of a waste of time. I think most of these questions you actually shouldn't need a calculator for. Anyway, which of the following numbers is not a solution of the inequality 3x minus 5? Okay, so to find out what is not an inequality, what is not a solution, let's first find out what is a solution. So we can say, um, let's see, we can say 3x, and we're going to add 5 to both sides of our inequality. So we can say negative 5 plus 5 is just 0, of course. So we can say 3x is greater than or equal to 4x, and 5 plus negative 3 is equal to positive 2. Okay. Um, let's see, we can subtract 4x from both sides. We can say negative x is greater than or equal to 2. Okay. So we can multiply both sides by negative 1 to get a positive value of x here. So we can say x, and this is a little tricky, so I'll explain it. In other words, x is less than or equal to negative 2. Whenever we multiply both sides of an inequality by 1 or any negative number, or divide by a negative number, we need to flip our negative sign. So in other words, our solution set is to this question is going to be everything less than or equal to 2. So what is not a solution? So we need to find something that is greater than negative 2. And negative 1 is the only number larger than negative 2 out of these solutions. Okay, so number of seeds in each of 12 apples. Okay, so we have a number of seeds here, and we have number of apples. All right, so based on the histogram above, which of the following, which is the closest to the average arithmetic mean number of apples per seed? So like any average, let's find out how many seeds in total we have and how many apples in total we have. So we have 3 instances of 2 seeds. I'm going to write this down. So 3 times 2 is equal to 6. 4 times 0 is 0. 5 seeds occurred 4 times. So 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 1, that's going to be 6. 7 times 2, that's going to be 14. 8 times 0 is 0. And 9 times 3 is going to be 27. Alright, so I'm going to add these up. 6 plus 20 is 26. 26 plus 6 is 32. 32 plus 14 is 46. And 46 plus 27, we can say 40 plus 20 plus 13, so 60, 73. Okay, so 73. And we need to divide now by the number of apples. So we had 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9, and plus 3 is 12. So we have 73 over 12. Let's use the calculator. We can say 73 divided by 12. That's going to be 6.08. So it's going to be answer C. 6.08 is closest. Yeah, it's closest to 6. All right, so answer C. Okay. A group of 10th, and this is question 13, a group of 10th grade students responded to a survey that asked which math course they were currently enrolled in. The survey data were broken down as shown in the table above. Which of the following categories accounts for approximately 19% of all the survey respondents? Okay, so 19%. So let's say 10th grade students. All right. So how many students do we have? We have 310 students. So we're going to come up with an equation. We're going to say our number of students, of the total number of students, which is 310, is equal to 19%. 19% can be written as 0.19. So let's solve now to see how many students we're going to need. So we're going to say 310 times 19. 310 times 19 is 50, sorry, 1 second. 310 times 0.19, sorry. is equal to 58.9. So x equals 58.9. So we need to find the instance, that is the gender in the class in which we have about 59 students. So we have that here. Geometry, male. So let's see if that's one of our answers. Males taking geometry, answer C. So that is. All right, good. So we have another table. Lengths of fish in inches. Okay, the table above lists the lengths to the nearest inch of 21 bullfish, bullhead fish. Good, so we have 3 rows and 7 columns, so 21. The outlier measurement of 24, so outlier of 24 is an error. Of the mean, median, and range of the values listed above, which will change the most? So first, let's take a look at our median, the number in the middle of the set, essentially. So that is 12. So if we were to remove 24, our median actually should not change at all. We have a 12 on either side of it. This is the middle row and middle column. So we have a 12 on either side. So our median shouldn't change at all. Our mean will change. Our range will change. So our range is equal to the largest value minus the smallest value. Largest minus the smallest. 24 minus 8 is equal to, is equal to 24 minus 8 is equal to 16. And 16 minus 8 is equal to 8. So it would go from 16 down to 8. It would decrease by 8. In other words, change by 8. So our range is going to change by 8. They will all change by the same amount. That's we can see as false. Our range changes and our median doesn't, for instance. So those two aren't changing by the same amount. And our mean would change as well. And if we wanted to calculate how much it would change by, we could add up these numbers, including and excluding 624, and find out the mean and see how much it changes by. But we can sort of tell it's not going to change by 8. It's just removing one number, which is only an outlier, but it's only 8. 8 larger than 16 is not going to change it that much. So to save time, I think it's safe to say that our range, which changes by an amount of 8, is going to change the most. Okay, question 15. So another chart, or another graph this time. Rather, so we have total cost of renting a boat by the hour. Okay, the graph above displays the cost in C, so C is our cost, and a boat for H hours, H is our number of hours. Okay, so what does the C intercept? So our C intercept is where it crosses the C axis, in other words right here, represented in the graph above. Good. So it's starting at 5. Remember, this graph represents the total cost. So at time 0, at H is equal to 0, that's at time 0. In other words, we haven't spent any time in it. That's going to be our initial cost. That should be A. Let's just read the other. So the total number of boats rented, no. Total number of hours on the boat, no. And the increase in cost to rent the boat for each hour, no. That's what H represents. Okay, yeah, so it should be answer A, the initial cost of renting the boat, 16. Which of the following represents the relationship between H and C? Okay, so first thing to note is how much C is increasing by each time H increases. So H increases from 0 to 1, in other words, H increases by 1, and C is going to increase by 3. In other words, H is going to be equal to, C is going to be equal to 3 times H, and we also have a C-intercept of 5. So we're going to need something that a 3 next to our H, plus a constant of 5. So that's going to be answer C. So 16 should be C, 3H plus 5, yes. Okay, 17, another graph. So the complete graph of the function f above is shown in the xy plane. For what value of x is the value of f of x at its minimum? So f of x we can think of as the y value. We see that the minimum value of f of x occurs here. And what is our x value at this point? Let's see, so we have minus 1. This is, yes, 1 units. So minus 1, 2, 3. So at x equals minus 3, we have our minimum value of f of x. So answer, negative 3. Answer B. So x equals minus 3. Okay. In the xy plane, if 0, 0 is a solution, okay, so 0, 0 is a solution to the system of equations above, which of the following relationships must be true? So when x and y are both equal to 0, we have a solution to the system. So let's first substitute into 0, 0 to try and get some knowledge about this. So substituting in for our first equation here, we can say 0 is less than negative x. We're substituting 0 is less than 0 plus a. In other words, this is the same. This is the same as saying 0 is less than a. Okay. Our second equation, we can say substitute 0 for y. We can say 0 is greater than x. Substitute 0 for x. 0 is greater than 0 plus b. So this is the same as saying 0 is greater than b. All right, so we can now say, rewriting this down here, we can now say a is greater than 0. All right. Um, so we can say 0 is less than a, good, and b is less than 0. In other words, 0 is greater than b. So we can say b is less than 0, which is less than a. So this is, we can now say b is less than a. So that should be b is less than a, which is the same as saying a is greater than b. So that should be a. Let's see. Yeah, that should be answer a. Good. 19. A food truck sells salads for $6.50. For $6.50 each, and drinks for $2 each. So the truck's revenue from selling totals 209 salads in one day was 836.5. Okay, how many salads were sold that day? So we're going to have, we can make a system of equations here. So we can say $6.5 was the cost of each salad. I'm going to use the variable s for salad. So I'm going to say 6.5 times our variable s plus $2 represents our drinks. I'm going to use the variable d for drinks plus 2d, and our total amount of money was 836.5 is equal to 836.5. Good. So now the second equation in our system of equations, we have 209 salads and drinks together were sold. So I'm going to say S is our number of salads sold plus our number of drinks. D is going to be equal to 209. Okay. So how many salads were sold? So let's get rid of our variable D. Let's cancel that out somehow so we can find what S is. So let's multiply our second equation by negative 2. We'll add that to our first equation. So this is going to be negative 2. This is rewriting our second equation, negative 2s, minus 2d is equal to negative 418. Okay, and we're going to add our first equation to this. So negative 2 plus 6.5 is going to give us 4.5s. As we said, these are going to cancel out, so 2d minus 2d is equals to 0. And so we're going to have 836.5 minus 418. Do this on the calculator. Let's see. 836.5 minus 418. The left is 418.5 is equal to 418.5. Good. So now this is an S. Looks like a 5, but it's not. So now we're going to divide both sides by 4.5 to isolate our variable S, number of salads. So we can say 418.5 divided by 4.5. That's going to be 93. So we can say S is equal to 93. Good. So 19 is B. Okay. Moving along. 20. Alma bought a laptop computer at a store that gave a 20% discount. Okay, so 20% discount off its original price. The amount she paid to the cashier was P dollars, so she paid P dollars. Okay, that includes an 8% sales tax on the discounted price. So on the discounted price, not on the original price. So which of the following represents the original price of the computer in terms of P? So she paid P. So let's see. She paid. So I'm going to write P as our original price is equal to. Okay. I'm going to use the variable P is the price she. Yeah, P is the price she paid. I'm going to use the variable X for the original price. So I'm going to say this is equal to zero point 0.8. Now 0.8 comes from a 20% discount. 1 minus 0.2 is equal to 0.8. Um, so zero point 0.8 times the original price, X, um, times our 8% sales tax. That's equivalent to multiplying by 1.08. So now we want to isolate this. We want our original price in terms of P. So we can say P over zero point 0.8 times 1.08 is equal to X, our original price. So P over 0.8 times 1.08. Um, Answer D. Okay, answer D should be our answer. So let's see. Dreams recalled during 1 week, question 21. We have a chart, a table rather. So the data in the table above were produced by a sleep researcher studying studying the number of dreams people recall when asked to record their dreams for 1 week. Group X consisted of 100 people who observed early bedtimes, okay, and group Y is 100 people who had later bedtimes. If a person is chosen at random from those who recalled at least one dream, what is the probability that the person belonged to group Y? Alright, so we have at least one dream, so it's going to be this column plus this column. In other words, 39 plus 125. So 39 plus 125 is going to be equal to 164, okay? And we want to know the probability that the person belonged to group Y. So group Y, out of these two columns, we have 11 plus 68. It's going to be 77 over our total from here, 77 over 164 should give our probability, and these are none of our answers. It's because I added incorrectly. This should be 11 plus 68 is 79. So we have 79 over 164. All right, answer C. Okay, so it's good to be efficient, but you do have to, that can sometimes cause it to be a little inaccurate, as you can see. So questions 22 and 23 refer to the following information. Annual budgets for different programs in Kansas, 2007 to 2010. Okay, so the table above lists the annual budget in thousands of dollars for each of 6 state programs. Blah, blah, blah. 22. Which of the following best approximates the average rate of change in the annual budget for agriculture and natural resources from 2008 to 2010? The budget for the average rate of change. Okay, so we want to know, and it's in dollars. Yes, all of our answers are in dollars. So agriculture and natural resources, that is this row here. So 2008 to 2010, I'm going to approximate a little bit. I'm going to say, let's 2008 to 10, yes. So I'm going to say 488 minus 358 is going to be equal to 130. And the change, we have, the change occurred twice, 2008 to 9 and 9 to 10. So 130,000 divided by 2 should just, yes, be 65,000 per year. Okay, answer B. How are we doing on time? Let's see. 22 questions in, and we've used 27 minutes. All right, let's just pick it up just a little bit. So, of the following, which program's ratio of its 2007 budget to its 2010 budget is closest to the human resources program's ratio of its 2007 to 2010 budget? Okay, so human resources. Let's see what that is. For approximate a little bit again, we can say 4051 divided by 2007 to 10 divided by 5921. So 0.684, so just over 2/3. So this is a little bit over, change is about equal to 2/3. 0.68, a little bit over 2/3. So let's see, agriculture and natural resources. I'm just going to try the ones that look like they could be close. That does look close. Some look close at least. It's going to be a little small. 373 divided by 488. Sorry, a little large. So 0.76, no. Probably not. Education. Let's see. Um, 2164 divided by 3008. 0.72. Okay, so that's maybe it. 0.72. 23. Let's see. Highway and transportation. 1468 divided by 773. It's going to be too large. Yes, it is. 0.82. And public safety, that I can tell is going to be too small. So education, 0.72 is going to be the closest. All right, good. Let's move along. 24 rather. Which of the following is an equation of a circle in the xy plane with center 0, 4 and a radius with endpoints? All right, so they tell us the starting and ending points of the radius, but we want to know, let's find the length of the radius. So we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So let's find our distance. We move in the x-axis as well as the distance in the y-axis. So we go from 0 to 4/3. That's a change of 4/3. We go from 1 to 5. That's a change of 1 plus 1. Remember our Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. We can say 4/3 squared plus 1 squared. I'm going to use r for radius is equal to our radius squared. So we can say 16 over 9, 4/3 times 4/3, plus 1 times 1 is 1, equals r squared. We have 25 over 9. Let's combine these 9. We can rewrite 1 as 9 over 9. 9 over 9 plus 16 over 9. 25 over 9 is equal to, should be squared, is equal to r squared. Good. And we have that here in answers A and B. And we have a radius with a center 0, 0, 4. So x is equal to 0, y is equal to 4. So our equation for a circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared if it's at the origin. If we move positively in the x or y direction, we subtract the amount we move from x or y respectively. So that should give us answer A. So we can say x squared plus y minus 4, since we have positive 4, is equal to 25 over 9. So if that doesn't make sense, review the definition of, review how we can plot a circle, um, how we can use an equation to represent that. So 25. The equation above expresses the approximate height h in meters of a ball t seconds after it is launched vertically from the ground, 25 meters per second. Okay, after approximately how many seconds will the ball hit the ground? So we can see if at 0 seconds we substitute 0 in, that is going to be one solution, but we want to know after how many seconds, so it must be positive. So so when our height is 0, that means it's hit the ground. So that equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 25t. Let's see. Let's divide both sides by t. 0 divided by t is just going to be 0 still, so we can say 0 is equal to minus 4.9 t squared divided by t is t, plus just 25. So we can say minus 25 is equal to negative 4.9 t, and negative 4.9, we can divide both sides by negative 4.9. That's going to be just over 5, and so we say after approximately how many seconds? So it's going to be about 5 seconds. So we can say 5 is about equal to t. Okay, 26. Katerina is a botanist studying the production of pears by two types of pear trees. She noticed that type A trees produce 20% more pears than type B trees. Based on Katerina's observation, if the type A trees produce 144 pears, how many pears did the type B trees produce? So A is 20% larger than B, so in other words we can say B times 1.2, B times 1.2 is equal to A. And we know A produces 144, so we can say 1.2 B is equal to, substituting 144 in for A, is equal to 144. Dividing both sides by 1.2, 12 times 12 gives 144, so 1.2 times 120 should be B. Let's see, and it is. Answer B, 120. Okay. A square field measures 10 by 10 meters. Um, 10 students, excuse me, each mark off a randomly selected region of the field. Each region is square, okay, and has lengths of 1 meter. So in other words, 1 times 1 is 1, so each region is 1 meter squared. And no two regions overlap. The students count the earthworms contained in the soil to a depth of 5 centimeters. Okay, so that's half meter cubed in each region. Beneath the ground surface in each region, the results are shown in the table below. Which of the following is a reasonable approximation of the number of earthworms to a depth of 5 centimeters beneath the ground surface? So let's look at our answers first. We can note that every answer begins with 1, 5. So we can assume that the average of these must be 150. It wouldn't make sense to be 15 or 1,500, and it must be something that starts with 1, 5. Between 107 and 166, 150 is the only logical answer without needing to use our calculator to actually find the average. So let's see, what is our total area of the field now? So 10 by 10, 10 times 10 is equal to, it's going to be equal to 100 meters squared. And there are 10 students, yes, 10 students, and each one have 1 by 1. So we have 10 times 1 is going to equal 10 meters squared. Okay. Okay. We actually don't even need this piece of information, I don't believe. So we can say each square is each one meter is about equal to 150. We have 100 in total, so we can say 100 times 150 is equal to, should be 15,000. And this is coming from, we have 100 meters squared in total, and in each 1 meter squared section we have 150 on average. 150 times 100 gives us 15,000. Answer C. Okay. 28. Okay, the system of inequalities, y is greater than 2x plus 1 and y is greater than 1 half x minus 1 is graphed on the xy plane above. Which quadrant contains no solution? So we can find the solution to the system of inequalities by graphing. So let's graph our first equation. Here, this equation here, we have a y-intercept of 1 and 2x. So in other words, when x is equal to 2, when x is equal to 1, we're going to have 2 times 1 plus 1 is going to be 3. So we'll say this is 3. And we're going to have a steep slope, something pretty steep like this, a slope of 2x. And our second equation, we have 1 half x minus 1. So we have minus 1, good. So let's see, when x is equal to 1, we're going to have 1 half minus 1. It's going to give us negative 0.5, so something much less steep, something like this is going to be our second equation. And our solution is everything greater than. Y is greater than, in both cases y is greater than. So our solution is everything greater than both of these lines. So that's going to mean everything over here in this area is our solution. So as we can see, which quadrant contains no solutions? Well, this portion of the solutions are in quadrant 1 here. Almost all of quadrant 2 is a solution, and portion of quadrant 4 is a solution. Portion of quadrant 3 rather is a solution. So the only one which is not a solution is quadrant 4 over here. So quadrant 4 contains no solutions. Okay, 29. For a polynomial p of x, the value of p of 3 is minus 2. Which of the following must be true about p of x? Okay, read this. Right, so this is looking like a little bit of a tricky one. So we can say x minus 5 is a factor. Must be true. I don't know that we can say this. Don't know that we can say B is true. I don't know about C. Let's test D. So we have x minus 3 here. We have a 3 here and a solution of minus 2, and we see minus 2 again. So let's test this. So let's try saying p of x. So we have divided by 3. So let's say p of x is equal to, I'm going to say is equal to x minus 3 times, I'm going to use the variable a. So x minus 3 times a. A could be a polynomial, or it could be, I believe, could be a constant as well, depending on the original value of our polynomial p of x, and then plus our remainder. All right, so now you can see where the 3 is going to come into play. So in the case of p of 3, we know that the answer is negative 2. So we can say negative 2 is equal to p of 3 is equal to, and now 3 is going to come into play. We're going to have 3 minus 3 times a plus r. The reason this 3 is important, 3 minus 3 is 0. That's going to isolate our remainder r. So 0 times a is 0 plus r. Remember we said negative 2 is equal to this. So negative 2 equals r. Negative 2 is equal to r. So when p of x is divided by 3, the remainder when p of x is divided by 3 is negative 2. So it must be answer D. All right, question 30. So we have a graph, second order polynomial. So which of the following is and how we're doing on time? Let me check again. Which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation above? 40 minutes. Let's hurry it up a little bit. Of the equation above. Sorry, let me start over. Which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation of the graph shown in the xy plane above, from which the coordinates of vertex A, so A is our vertex, it looks, okay, can be identified. So what are the coordinates of our vertex? It looks like it's about negative 16, y equals negative 16, x equals 1, so 1, negative 16. So can be identified as constants. So we can't tell here, these don't identify it as constants. This does. So when we say, so we can substitute negative 1, sorry, we can substitute positive 1 for x, and that's going to give us a y value of negative 1, good, and when y is equal to negative 16, we can find that x is going to equal positive 1. Let me just factor this out and make sure it's in fact equal to our original equation. So we need it to be equal to this equation. So x minus 1 times x minus 1 is going to be x squared minus 2x plus 1, and then we have minus 16, get the picture out of the way, sorry. So we're going to say this is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 15, and that is our original equation. Okay, so D must be our answer. Okay, let's see, moving on to the non-multiple choice portion. So why can husk at least 12 dozen ears of corn per hour and at most 18 dozen ears of corn per hour? Based on this information, what is the possible amount of time in hours it could take y to husk? 72. So he can at most do it in 18, so I'm just going to say 72 over 18, just since 18 goes evenly into this. 72 over 18 is going to be equal to 4. So one possible solution is 4 hours. There should be many solutions, though. I believe an infinite number of solutions, actually. But 4 hours is one possible solution. Okay, so the posted weight limit for a covered wooden bridge in Pennsylvania is 6,000 pounds. Okay, so it's the total amount, the total weight limit is 6,000 pounds. A delivery truck is carrying X identical boxes, and each weighs 14, so X boxes, and each is 14 pounds. If the combined weight of the delivery truck and its driver is 4,500, so with no boxes we have a weight of 4,500. What is the maximum possible value of X that will keep the combined weight of the truck driver and boxes below the bridge's limit? So let's find the amount. So let's see, we can say 6,000 pounds is going to be greater than, we have 4,500 is our weight with no boxes, just the truck and the driver, plus we have 14 pounds for each box. So plus 14x, x is our number of boxes. So let's subtract 4,500 from both sides. That leaves us with 1,500 is greater than 14x. Grab my calculator here. Let's see, so we're going to say 1,500 divided by 14. It's going to be 107.1 is greater than x, and we can't have a fractional number of boxes. So we're going to say 107 is greater than x. So we have to round down in this case. Okay, let me take a look at 33. Number of portable media players sold each year from 2006 to 7 to 11, 2006 to 2011. According to the line graph above, the number of portable media players sold in 2008 is a fraction of 2011. Okay, this is looking like an easier one, so we have 100 over 160. So our fraction is 100 over 160. That can be simplified though. We can say it's equal to, we can say 10 over 16, which is equal to 5 over fourths. So, sorry, dividing by 2 is going to be 5 over 8. Yeah, so dividing 10 over 16, dividing numerator and denominator by 2 gives us 5 over 8. And that can't be simplified anymore. Okay. 34. A local television sells time slots for programs in 30-minute intervals. If the station operates 24 hours per day, every day of the week, what is the total number of 30-minute time slots? Right, so the station is always open, in other words, 24 hours a day. What is the number of time slots that can be sold on Tuesday and Wednesday? So we have, how many time slots do we have per, let's see, we have 30-minute intervals, in other words, 2 per hour. There are 24 hours in a day, so we can say 2 times 24 is equal to 48. So in other words, there are 48 time slots per day, and we want to know how many there are on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's a 2-day period. So we can say 48 times 2 is going to be equal to 96. So we're going to have 96 time slots open on Tuesday and Wednesday. Alright, a dairy farmer uses storage for a silo that is in the shape of, okay, so we have a right cylinder. If the volume of the silo is 72 pi cubic yards, what is the diameter? Right, so it's nice we have a pi, effective pi here. What is the diameter? So our volume is going to be the surface area of one of the ends times the height. So we can say our surface area is equal to pi r squared. So we can say pi times r squared is equal to volume pi times r squared times 8 our height is equal to 72 pi. Dividing both sides by pi, we're going to be left with r squared times 8 is equal to 72. Dividing both sides by 8 times 9 is 72, r squared is equal to 9. So in other words, r equals square root of 9, taking square root of both sides, r is equal to 3. But let's see, we want the diameter. Diameter is twice the radius, so 2 times radius equals to our diameter, so we're going to say 2 times r, in other words 2 times 3 is equal to d, so we can say 6 is equal to d, so our answer should be 6. Okay, we're doing on time 47 minutes, we have 8 minutes to go for a few more questions. So what is the value of, what value of x is the function h above undefined? So our function is a fraction can be undefined. When we have 0 in the denominator, we could have, yeah, so it's one instance when this is undefined. So when is the denominator equal to 0? So we have x minus 5 here, and we have x minus 5 here. So for what value of x is undefined? So I'm going to substitute a for x minus 5, just since it's the same in both parentheses here, and you'll see why this makes sense in a second, I hope. So we can say a squared, substituting a for x minus 5, plus 4 times a, plus 4, and we want, remember, this to be equal to 0 because that's when it's undefined. So we can say a, a plus 2 times a plus 2, so that's going to be equal to 0. So in other words, we can say a is equal to minus 2. If we have minus 2 here, we're going to have 0 times this is 0, so 0 equals 0. So a is equal to minus 2. So now let's see, when does x minus 5? So remember, we substituted a for x minus 5. So we can say x minus 5 is equal to minus 2. So x minus 5 is equal to a minus 2. Good, so we can say x, so we can add 5 to both sides. We can say x, when x is equal to 3, positive 5 plus negative 2 gives us 3, so our final answer should be x equals 3. Okay, moving along, we have 2 more questions. So questions 37 and 38 refer to the following information. Jessica opened a bank account that earns 2% interest compounded annually. Her initial deposit was 100 and she uses the expression 100x to the t. Okay, for t years. So we have an exponential growth equation here. So what is the value of x? So x is going to be the amount that it compounds each year. So x is going to be 2% per year. In other words, 0.02 plus 1. So 0.202 plus 1 is going to be x equals 1.02. Good. Okay. And last question, we have 5 minutes. So we're doing okay. So Jessica's friend Tyshawn found an account that earns 2.5% annual interest compounded annually. Okay, Tyshawn made an initial investment of 100 and it's 2.5% in his account at the same time that Jessica made a $100 deposit into her account. So, assuming it's Jessica, yes, this was Jessica. So Jessica was 2%. So Jessica's 2%. After 10 years, how much more money will Tyshawn's initial deposit have earned than Jessica's initial deposit? Round your answer to the nearest 100. Okay, so we can say, let's see, let's find out how much Tyshawn earned. So we can say 100 times, here it's 2.5% times 1.025, and I'm going to use a t for Tyshawn. T is equal to 100 times 1.025 to the, and it's 10 years in both, yeah, after 10 years, to the 10th. So let me see, 1.025 raised to the 10th, good, times 100, 1 equals 128.008, and Jessica, use a J for Jessica, J equals, she had 100 as well as an initial deposit, and she earned 2% times 1.02 was 2%, right? Yes. To the 10th, so 1.02 to the raised to the 10th gives 1, okay, times 100. So this is equal to 121.899. So t minus j is equal to 128.008 minus 121.899. Sorry. Let me see. Okay, so 128.008 minus 121.899. So 6.109. Okay, so this is going to be equal to 6.109. That should be our final answer. To the nearest cent. Sorry, 6.109. Rounding, this should be 6.11. 6.109 should round to 6.11. Good. So how do we do on time? All right, so a couple of minutes to spare. Good. So that was a pretty good pace. Hopefully we were pretty accurate in these questions as well. I think I feel pretty good about most of these answers. But I'll go back and check and make sure if I made any mistakes that I include an annotation in the video. And hopefully if I did make any mistakes, you can maybe learn something from them, see where I went wrong so you don't make the same mistake when you take the test. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you got something out of this. I'll continue to make another video for the other practice tests, the other official practice tests. And yeah, I hope this helps. And if you're taking the SAT soon, best of luck. All right, thanks for watching.